Okay, I'm going to talk about your activity tracker or smartwatch, one of them, kind of as a whole, but mainly to do with calories burnt and why it's not a particularly useful bit of information, although it's the one that people mainly focus on. So, got a message yesterday from somebody, kind of worried, and I'll paraphrase it a little bit just because I had a few components to the message, but essentially what they were saying is, I'm looking on Instagram and I'm seeing people doing their home workouts. They're burning hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calories, and when I'm doing it, I'm not getting anywhere near that number. It's making me feel demotivated. I'm feeling a bit shitty because I'm not able to, or I'm worried that I'm not going to make the same progress or see the same results that they are because my calories aren't as high. Is there a reason for this? Is it something I'm doing wrong? I feel like I'm working hard, but is the watch telling me I'm not? What's going on? So I'm just going to go over briefly how the watch actually works, why looking at calories burnt is flawed, and how it's calculated is flawed, although it's not really the fault of the companies as such, and then just what you'd be better looking at when it comes to making the most of using the information. Okay, so what the watches actually do, well, it has all the basic things like heart rate, number of steps you do a day, a pedometer, minutes of intense exercise. The better watches, if they're accurate, and Google's your friend for that, but they also track things like your stress levels, recovery, sleep, things that are important when it comes to training. And then obviously things like VO2 max, if you're more, estimates your VO2 max if you're more into training. So there are a lot of useful benefits to using a fitness watch, hence why I have one and a lot of people have one. It also, on top of that, calculates or estimates, or guesses is probably the best word, your calories burnt. So we'll go over how the watch actually does that now. Okay, so when you first get the watch, you'll input things into your account or into your watch, things like your age, your gender, your height, your weight, etc. And then it will use that information to estimate your BMR. Your BMR is your basal metabolic rate. It's how many calories your body uses when you're at complete rest, basically to keep your body functioning as normal, keep you alive. So if you're lying in bed asleep for 24 hours, don't move a muscle, your BMR is the energy that you use in that time period to keep your heart pumping, keep your blood going around your body, keep you breathing, keep you alive, basically. It then uses your BMR, and everybody's BMR is different according to things like I said there, like your height, your weight, your gender, aging, things like that. It uses your BMR to estimate how many calories or how much energy you're burning for a given activity. So if you're running, if you're cycling, if you're swimming, if you're playing football, if you're playing golf, playing tennis, you get the picture. Just for a little bit of context, there's a study done at Stanford University, I think it was 2017, and it looked at the accuracy of, I think it was between 6 to 8 smartwatches. So admittedly, it's not a massive sample size, but what it showed was, in terms of tracking heart rate itself, all of the watches were fairly accurate. I think to within about 5% being the least accurate. So pretty decent measure to gauge your results on. When it came to calories burnt, however, I think the most accurate or least inaccurate, depending how you want to look at it, was nearly 30% off. I think it was around 27 or 28% inaccurate. So quite a big discrepancy there in the accuracy. In terms of most inaccurate, I think it was 97% off. So what that shows is, looking at calories burnt, it really doesn't tell you much because it's such an inaccurate guide when it comes to using your smartwatch for any sort of information about your training. There's a number of reasons that metric is flawed, which I will go through now. So the main reason that it's so inaccurate is the fact that other factors that go into your BMR and how many calories that you burn individually are not taken into account. One of the main ones being your lean body mass, basically how much muscle you carry. So if we take two people who are the same age, weight, gender, height, so say we've got a 30-year-old guy who's 6 foot, 80 kilos, one's extremely muscular and the other one has got very little muscle mass at all. The one who's 80 kilos and very, very, very muscular will burn much more calories at rest and when they're exercising than the one is very lacks any muscle. So you can immediately see why that would create a big discrepancy in the numbers that your watch is giving you, because we have that very wide spectrum. The person that's very, very muscular, the person that's got very little muscle mass at all, and all the people in between. And the calculation is just lumping them all in together, although their bodies react to exercise and when they're at rest in a very different manner. On top of that, and I'll just touch on this briefly because I'm in no way, shape or form an expert on this kind of stuff, but things like hormone levels and your digestion also play a role in your BMR and energy expenditure. So things like your testosterone levels, cortisol levels, insulin levels play a role, as well as how your body individually digests food, because everybody's digestive system works differently. So these things as well play a factor in BMR, which obviously the watch can't take into consideration when it's estimating how many calories you're burning on an exercise. The other big issue that the smartwatch will have in accurately tracking how many calories you burn is the fact that we all move differently. So we could take somebody who's the same height, weight, gender, age and things like that as me, and how we'll run will be different, how we'll cycle will be different, how we'll use our own machine will be different. They're all fairly simple movements as well. As soon as you start adding in complex stuff like the stuff that people are doing in home workouts at the minute, you know, burpees, mountain climbers, bicep curls with your dog, and you know, that kind of thing, it becomes a lot more difficult for your watch to accurately track what you're doing, because it just bases it off averages at how many calories people burn doing movements. If you put in circuit class, the watch doesn't know what you're doing in the circuit class, it just knows that you're exercising. So how accurate that's going to be is going to be very difficult, which is why it's not really the company's fault that the calorie expenditure is so inaccurate. It's not, the technology isn't there at the minute, certainly in smartwatches, to accurately track how many calories you've burnt, which is why you shouldn't really use your smartwatch for that particular reason, although there are a couple of ways you can probably look at calories if you really wanted to, but most watches will have other metrics and other information that are far more valid and much more useful to you in your ability to track training, which I'll go through now. Okay, so like I said, it doesn't mean that watches are useless. There's a lot of benefits to using them. Like I said earlier, tracking heart rate, tracking your sleep, tracking stress, tracking how many steps you do as a motivational tool, estimating your VO2 max. As long as you look up and make sure that you're getting a decent quality or fairly accurate watch when it comes to those things, they still have a lot of merit and a lot of validity in you actually using one. It just means that looking at calories burnt themselves is a pretty inaccurate or useless bit of information when it comes to using your watch. There are maybe some slight benefits to using it. You could use calories burnt as a motivational tool, because as far as I'm aware, watches are equally inaccurate, meaning like regardless of whether my watch is accurately telling me I've burned 400 calories or not. If it says I've burned 400 calories today, and I do a workout and I've burnt 600 calories tomorrow, the chances are tomorrow's workout would have been harder than today's, regardless of the fact of whether or not it's actually right with the numbers. So you can use it as a motivational tool. You can say to yourself, every time I train, I want to burn 400 calories because I know burning 400 calories is a fairly hard workout. So I want to keep that difficulty level. Most watches, however, will actually give you a number of intense minutes, and it does that just by using heart rate. And like I said earlier, heart rate on the watches is a much more accurate measure, so it would make more sense to me just using number of intense minutes to accurately track how hard your training is, to make sure you're pushing yourself hard. Okay, so just to end, if you take a few things away from this video, just take these points away. You need to understand that calorie expenditure, or how many calories your watch is saying you've burnt, is really just a very loosely educated guess, to the point where the companies actually tell you that on their websites, and they say that you certainly shouldn't base any health decisions on the results that it's given you. Which brings me on to this point. For the general population, and obviously there's caveats, if somebody's training 2, 3, 4 hours a day, you need to obviously take in more energy. But for the average person, if you're doing an hour Zoom workout or a 45-minute Zoom workout, please don't eat back the calories that your watch is telling you you've burnt. This is the biggest mistake I made when I very first started training. If your watch is telling you you've got, or if your app or whatever is telling you you've got 600 calories left for the day because you've burnt 600 calories in your workout, you will hinder your progress 100%. You've not burnt 600 calories. It's very, very, very inaccurate, like I said earlier, and it will hinder your progress. I know this from personal experience. So if you do if you're trying to lose body fat, please don't eat back the calories that you're burning. The other point I would say is certainly don't compare your calories burnt to somebody else's, unless there's maybe a little merit in comparing yourselves to your own, but like I said, you can use number of intense minutes to do that. It's got zero validity comparing yourself to somebody else, unless maybe you're an identical twin who lives the exact same lifestyle, sleeps the same, eats the same foods, and you wear the same make and model of smartwatch. Then there may be some merit. Otherwise, it really tells you absolutely nothing. Use the watch for the other benefits, like I said. Use it for heart rate, use it for number of intense minutes, use it for the step counter, use it to track sleep, use it to track stress. There's a lot of merit to using one. Just looking at how many calories you burn isn't it. So thank you for watching. Any questions, ask.